All right, welcome to Hacked Off Podcast. I am your host, Yuri, also
And
known as
Chase.
Skar on the Discord.
Yes, and
Linktree down below for both of us.
yeah, the Linktree. Yeah. Oh yeah, your Linktree's done.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. Yeah, so we have these Linktree links. You go to them, you get all of our socials, all of our anything relevant to us. If you want to connect with us, click the fucking Linktree link. Basically, it's all you got to do. You know, who gives a shit? And yeah, plus you can also see some of our other shit on our socials and whatnot. Especially me being an asshat on X. You know, just for the funsies. I look forward to you being an asshat too, and then backing you up on said asshattery. You know, that'd be fantastic. You know, especially as we do our crusade against right-wing e-girls and make
An
sure
SD Red Pillar.
yes,
like,
Red Pillar.
Rollo Tomassi.
Yes. The George Millers of the world. Anyone named George Miller, we're coming for you on Twitter.
Grandma Tomassi.
Grandma Tomassi.
Grandma of the...
What's the story with that?
That's just what people call him. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. Like I have no clue. It's just like, oh yeah, the Manosphere, man. You know, it's just like, what was it? What was you saying about Rollo Tomassi and like SD men? Or was that Sherwinator's comment? Was that what that was?
Yeah. Should we open?
Yeah.
up
Let's open with that because that's so interesting.
So this was a comment from last episode, I believe. Yeah, okay. So he goes, it's worth noting Rollo Tomassi's perspective of alpha men is a kind of bias towards SD men that appear alpha in the sense that they are held in higher esteem by fellow SD men, hence are perceived by SD women as higher value or alpha. I've noticed that with a lot of UD men, particularly young UD men, not actually having as much success with women and even excluded from the pool of sexually available women.
Just because they're not submitting to like the...
They're the outsider.
Yeah, the
There's
outsider.
not enough of them to have their wolf pack, so
Not
they're
the wolf
existing
pack. Yeah.
kind of in the SD man's universe.
Yeah.
And they are
We haven't really talked about the concept of the wolf pack yet, have we?
No.
We can actually introduce that right now. Let's do that. Awesome. So it comes from like this dating concept. Like, for example, SD men have fear of rejection because, you know, they're weak. And then you have UD men. We have fear of being a creep. Why? Because we're strong. We're dangerous, and everyone knows it, basically. We're explosive. Oh my God, that guy can explode at any moment, right? That's scary, especially in a bar situation. That guy, I mean, you can have instant fisticuffs. You have no idea what's going to happen with that fucker as soon as he walks in through the fucking door. You see what I'm saying? And all the time, it's like who... The SD male, though, that their fear of rejection, like, they have it so fucking easy, dude. Because there's so many explosive, subconscious developed women in the bar everywhere, all the time. Because emotional exploders go out. So you have the UD men and the SD women who are out in the bars, in the bar scene. And you don't have UD women and you don't have SD men really out there. And it's because they have, in general, fear of rejection. Versus the exploders have fear of being, you know, a creep. But more so with the SD women, what was it? Fear of being a hoe or looking like a hoe, or
fear of coming across too masculine.
Oh, fear of being masculine.
Yeah,
that's right.
Even though that's exactly what they are.
Yes, it is exactly what they are. Yeah. It's, oh God, I love emasculating subconscious developed women. It is my favorite fucking thing to do at the bar, literally. Especially when they're gatekeeping the quiet girls, the UD girls, when they're gatekeeping them. I love it. I just love getting in their faces and just emasculating them, treating them as if they're men and telling them that their manhood is shit. It's so hilarious. And then also the quiet girl is just watching that exchange when you're emasculating her so-called friend, this SD woman that she's with, the queen bee. When you're emasculating the queen bee, and the quiet girl's looking up at her, starting to feel like that, oh my God, I look bad because I'm associated with this woman who's actually acting masculine, and I don't actually want to be masculine. It's so funny. But the quiet girl will never leave home. The Yuri woman will never leave home because she's a homebody, because all imploders are homebodies. And then she has to be drugged to the bar by the queen bee. But then you insert the fucking SD male, and he's there, like, being some fucking, fear of rejection guy. I don't want to go. But here's the thing. They have it so easy with dating. They have it so easy. SD men have it easy. And by the way, this is no excuse for you fuckers to like actually like stay SD, by the way. Like, no. It's not. It's not any fucking excuse. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the show. But they have it so fucking easy. All they have to do is just go to a bar, go up to a random woman, ignore their fear of rejection entirely, and just be like, hey, I think you're hot. Let's fuck. Or hey, I think you're hot. Let's go out. And then they just have to do it to every woman that they're attracted to at the bar. And then they'll have a 2 out of 10 close rate. And as long as they just go from bar to bar to bar and talk to all the women that they're attracted to and then literally have that opener, they're guaranteed to get a taker that night. Like, guaranteed. Like, it's so stupid. Because those explosive women, those emotionally explosive women, those SD women, they have this thing where they're attracted to the strong, silent type, harmonious man, even though he's non-confrontational and honestly a weak pussy. But the point is that like when this is happening, that's the man that they're attracted to the most. And when the woman gets off, she like hella gets off to the man who is normally the strong, silent type, but she's so attractive that he selected her to be direct with.
So would he have to establish that he is the strong, silent type first? He can't just go in guns blazing then, right?
He can't go in guns blazing. That's why they always stand off to the side. Like, you go to a club. There's a club in town called Mix for a while. They no longer exist. But you go there and you go to like the dance floor or whatnot. And when I went to there, if I wasn't taking over the pool tables, which is usually what I do, I just go challenge everyone at the pool tables. And then I get really good, actually, when I'm drunk. And then I crush them and I take their tables. And I'm DHVing, demonstrating higher value in front of all these people, men and women, about my pool prowess. And I have the most ridiculous bridge. And it's literally bunny ears on the table. And it pisses everyone off when they see it. And then when I end up like doing a jump shot to sink the 8-ball in to win, they can't believe it. It's the most hilarious thing in the world. And I take one pool table, I take the next pool table. I eventually, my whole crew, I'll take all the pool tables, get all my crew installed at the freaking pool tables. And then after I'm done with that, I just go right to the center of the dance floor, to the very center. And I just do whatever I want, and I don't care. While the SD men are standing off to the sides around the dance floor, as if the dance floor is like the big show. And you have all the explosive women just sitting there inside the middle of the dance floor with me. So you have all the exploders dancing, basically, and all the imploders watching the dancing, basically. And it is just so terrible. And then you see the quiet girls, sitting amongst the people outside watching, because apparently the exploders exist just to make a show for these people. It's like really stupid. So it's just getting an imploder to be willing to go there and do that. But the SD man who's just sitting on the side, literally all he has to do is just walk on the dance floor, go right up to one of the explosive women and just be like, the SD girls, and just be like, hey, I think you're hot, let's fuck. Or hey, I think you're hot, let's go out. That's it. It's just that easy. And the SD men who actually have the stones to do that, they're successful. The problem is that they end up with degenerate women, and then it's one-night stands, and then their life is ruined afterwards, Or at worst, they'll actually fall in love with the bitch.
Or have a kid.
Yeah, or have a kid. Like,
Yeah.
it's an absolute disaster, regardless. Don't recommend it. But hey, SD guys, since y'all love you some red pill, or you love you some black pill, or you love you some purple pill, or whatever fucking pill
Spinning
you like.
plates. right? Spinning plates.
Spinning plates. Yeah, you like spinning plates. You want to go spin plates. That's what there's your spinning plate strategy. There you have it.
Which is why Rollo's advocating everyone to get a vasectomy.
Yeah.
So you can spin plates without consequence.
Yeah, spin plates without consequence, which is still degenerate, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like,
even though there's a consequence to that too, obviously. But
yeah, it's
that.
just like, well, I mean, with Rollo Tomassi going out of his way, making this post about vasectomy, I mean, he's hacked off. Literally. He just had his dick hacked off. He just proved that he's hacked off. He's among the hacked off. And gentlemen, you don't want to be a member of the hacked off, right? So don't be like Tomassi, the author of the Rational Male books. Don't be like him, okay? And then just like getting a vasectomy. That's so stupid. Like, we got COVID vaccines, we got glyphosate, we got chlorine in the water, we got fluoride in the water, we have toxic clothes, we have so many bad things. Maybe you should go out of your way to improve your fertility as possible because you think your bloodline is going to survive in this environment. I don't think so. Maybe you should prioritize having as many children as possible and actually securing the future for your bloodline. And you got a noble bloodline, don't you?
You could say that.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Skarzynski here with his badass bloodline, I mean, potentially like actual royalty.
My coat of arms.
Your coat of arms right on your ring,
Yeah.
that's bitching. Yeah, I ain't that cool. But you're that cool. And I mean, hey man, it's your responsibility. You got to be the progenitor of your bloodline, good sir, and just keep moving it forward. Versus
I'm an only child too, so I have to do that.
You have to do that. Of course, SD men and your father's SD, they have this thing where it's, I just replaced myself and that's all I have to do. Lowest effort. It's okay, guys. Where it's the UD men where our job is to create family, not maintain family like it is for SD men. Because, SD men are really dependent while the UD men are independent in general. So as a result of that, it's like, okay, let's have as many children as we can. Because eventually we're going to outbreed the SD fucks anyway. Let's outbreed them.
Especially if they're all getting vasectomies if they listen to Rollo.
Yeah, God damn.
To be a high, that was his guides, to be a high value man. Step number one.
Rollo Tomassi, last I checked, was a member of the Council for National Policy, which is like the right-wing version of the Council on Foreign Relations. So I guess it's a CNP item to go out of their way to get men getting as many vasectomies as possible so that the members of CNP, their children are taking over while the men who buy into the vasectomy thing, they don't take over. And of course, the men who probably got the vasectomy are also the ones who got the jab as well, and got kind of.
Well, this whole thing is like the Manosphere cope, like the red pill ideology, presents itself as helping men.
Oh God! No,
are you really doing that? Yeah, you're not only are
plate
you
theory
is
literally destroying their lives.
Yes.
When you read The Rational Male, there's only two parts of that whole book that have any value to it. Chapter 1, which is about there is no such thing as the one. That is amazing. Which honestly is like the chapter that someone needs to read to realize that monogamy is a scam in of its own right, because it's a fucking scam. Monogamy is such a fucking scam, especially when you're actually trying to protect your bloodline. Polygyny is the only way to protect your bloodline for real. But then, so chapter 1 of the first book, and then the Iron Rules of Tomassi, but the first one, which is Frame is Everything. That's the other thing of value. There's nothing else of value, in my opinion, in the Rational Male, in terms of having actual concrete application into your life. Rollo Tomassi does a great job identifying problems, but his solutions don't actually really ultimately benefit men. And I'm not saying benefit society, because the solutions definitely does benefit society, because it continues to perpetuate the fucking subconscious developed primary social order. And I'm using his terminology when I say primary social order, because he likes to talk about the feminine primary social order. Oh wait, the feminine primary social order is actually the SD primary social order, because SDism is actually effeminate men. Literally. If you're a subconscious developed man, you're an effeminate man. Just straight up, you're an effeminate man because you're subconscious developed by default, okay? I just want you gentlemen to understand that. Maybe you should train yourself to not be SD anymore, which we'll be discussing in this show, just letting you know.
But tread carefully, because you don't want to end up SDJ
Yeah, SDJ.
while you're doing that.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got an example of that?
There's a guy on the server, on the Discord server, who was insisting that he was UDJ. Same type as me, ENTJ, UDJ. And I challenged him in such a way that only an SD guy would overreact to, and that's exactly what he did.
Was that the Z guy?
Zenith.
Yeah, Zenith, yeah.
Yeah.
We had another one that did that too. Was that Jan? He
Yes.
did that?
Yes.
Jan did that too, right?
Yeah, and he thought he was the same type as Spencer, and he's arguing with Spencer, who is
Yeah.
that type.
And then Jack the Yordle did it too.
Yeah.
What do all three of those men have in common?
I don't know.
They're all the same type and same octogram.
Except for Zenith.
Oh, except for Zenith. Okay,
Apparently
sorry.
he's the same type as me, but definitely not UD.
Yeah, not UD. No, like that's the thing. Like the SD man is like, oh, I'm alpha too, and it's like what Sherwinator was saying. It's like the SD male concept of alpha is not actually truly alpha. So if you were to define, if you were to define the SD male concept of what an alpha male is,
Machismo.
machismo. Yeah.
It's putting on a front. It's all about appearances because they're perception oriented.
Perception oriented.
So it's all about what it looks like to others. And they're not so much concerned with their own behavior and their own holding themselves to a standard. They just don't want to look weak, even if they are weak.
Yeah.
So that's what they focus on.
Actually, that's a perfect segue because we love segues. That's a perfect segue into something that Breadman has stated. So shout out to Breadman, also known as Asher. He's one of our mods on the Ego Hackers Discord server. If you haven't joined the Discord server, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Get in, okay? It's discord.gg/Ego Hackers. Get into this Discord server. That is where the Hacked Off podcast community is within the Ego Hackers Discord server. And in fact, I believe the Hacked Off channel is the most active channel now.
Yes, especially recently.
Yeah, it's been on fire.
Yeah.
Including we had an SD woman tell someone to not be a pussy. It was great. And that created a 3-day drama of some kind. And people left the server over it.
She left.
Oh, she left.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, she was a clone of Railgun after all, so I'm sure that would happen. So anyway.
Well, it saves me the trouble of banning her later on.
Yes.
Anyway. So.
Exactly. So Asher says, he says, quote, I realized something about why SD men are so afraid of confrontation yesterday. The mob, or mob mentality, is cannibalistic. The mob makes decisions by perception, not judgment. Thus, the mob cannot discern what is good or bad. Discernment is ultimately judgmental. Judgment is deductive. It asks what is different. Perception is inductive. It asks what is the same. The mob is also absolute. Water and the mob always takes the path of least resistance. Thus, the mob uses an inductive plus absolute framework to make decisions. Therefore, anything the mob decides is not the same, like not the same as us. It must be absolutely destroyed. This is another reason why subconscious developed men hide their mistakes. The mob is easily gaslit because it is regulated by social pressure. If the mob perceives your mistake or that you are making a mistake, the mob will then cannibalize you, the individual. Exactly how white knight blood cells eat pathogens. This is what an SD man assumes a UD man is doing to him when the UD man ultimately confronts him. And that's what you were experiencing with that Zenith guy.
Yeah, he thought I was trying to tear him down, but I was trying to build him up.
Yeah.
And what I was tearing down was his machismo and not him as a person. And he's like, oh, you're taking away my machismo. It's like, yes, I am. Because it's not actually UD behavior.
Yeah, and I would actually make the argument that because he's doing that, there's a chance maybe he really... Because like body temple and body temple people like yourself typically try to build up other people, whereas the soul temple people or the mind temple people try to tear other people down. They're shit testing other people, saying, hey, are you strong enough to take the hits, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So there might be a bias there.
Well, the only people that react negatively to me trying to build them up are SD men.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how I know they're SD.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that's true. Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. He goes on. So this is what the SD man assumes the UD man is doing when confronted. So then he says, and this is where this is important. In my opinion, SDism is functionally a psychosis. I agree. I absolutely agree this is a psychosis. And in my opinion, examining how it's a psychosis is, in general, the theme of this particular episode. Because the base mechanism of its decision-making framework is ultimately projection. It is irrational to expect a mortal creature to react rationally to perceived mortal threat. So an SD man cannot correctly perceive or understand a UD man until he is separated from the mob, also known as the safety net. And therefore, his final conclusion is this: Western SDism is a sociological autoimmune disease. And it really is. It absolutely is. Because, so here's what we've done. We have our unconscious developed friend group up here in northern Idaho, right? Well, if you notice something, we had a member of our group who is subconscious developed, but he's becoming UD right in front of our eyes. But he's invited to go play Dungeons and Dragons with a group of SD men. And in our group chat, I basically stated, oh, hey, by the way, the more time you spend with SD men, the more like them you'll be. So if you really want to be not SD anymore, you should get away from them, away from the mob, and then get with us, the UD men, and hang out with us. And then you become more UD over time. Because as it is written in the Bible, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man to another. It's that concept, from a male perspective. You see what I'm saying?
Especially if you're SDP, going to be harmonious.
Yeah.
And you can be harmonious with the wrong group.
Oh, yeah. You have a recent example of that, right? Isn't that what Zach is doing? Or, I mean, that's what you did for a while.
That's what it applies to UD men as well, because then you'll go UF, then you're UDP, and then you're acting harmonious around the SD. You're conforming to the SD mob, even as a UD man. The SD men, if they're harmonious, will do that too.
Yeah. And then if the UD man perceives that the environment is not safe for him, even when harmonious, he'll flip his development, and then he'll go SD temporarily.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, and that's how I am around my family. I implode every time I'm in the presence of my father. Every time I implode. I emotionally implode around him every single time. I can't help it. It's like a survival instinct that I have to do. And don't get me wrong, yeah, I love my father, but him and I should just not be in the same room. They're really not. Like, we trigger each other constantly.
Because you being harmonious isn't enough for them.
Mm-mm. Me being harmonious is not enough, because they have this bias that they're projecting onto me, where it's like, oh, you need to be implosive like me. You need to be that strong, silent type, that stoic person. But then what they don't realize is, like what Breadman had said earlier, if you're being an SD male, and the reason why you're an effeminate man is because you're withholding. Well, my dad is constantly withholding all the time, and he is an effeminate man. And then what's really annoying is that he expects my children, especially my male children, to do the same thing. He has that expectation, and he's constantly projecting to the point where he actually believes that he's doing the right thing, when in reality, he's actually harming my children. He is harming his grandchildren. He is actually being abusive, psychologically abusive, to his own grandchildren, because he actually believes that his mindset and his perspective is the right one, the morally and ethically correct one, when in reality, it's not. It's not at all. And that continues to be like a severe problem over time. But yeah, SDism is ultimately the autoimmune disease of society. It just has to absolutely stop. So let's, and I know we touched on it a lot in the last episode, but let's just touch on it just one more time, just to drive the point home, and then we can move on and just refer to it in future content. And that's, again, the rite of passage. The rite of passage, which is ultimately the chemo to this cancer, basically. And obviously, when you go through a rite of passage, just real quick for just structure's sake, the rite of passage is basically this task that you as a man has to do that is entirely based on your survival. Society originally was supposed to force every man to go through the rite of passage. Do you know what the best portrayal of the rite of passage that I've ever seen in cinema? I did say it was Emerald Forest in the last episode, but I would like to correct myself on that. It's actually the very first scene of 300. King Leonidas going up against that deadly animal at the very beginning. And that was his rite of passage. If you don't kill that animal, he's dead. It's like, that's it. It's survival. What this does, the rite of passage, what it does is it teaches the boy a fundamental truth. Society is not going to be my safety net. Society is not going to bail me out. My family is not going to be my safety net. It's not going to bail me out. No one will save me. No one is coming to save me. No, it is me or no one else. That is it. And that is passing the rite of passage. What that does is it creates an epiphany in the man, and that epiphany, the primary epiphany that they have is that no one is coming to save you. No one will save you. We're going to have a nice t-shirt for that.
Yes.
Yes. No one is coming to save you. No one will save you. Like nobody. Didn't David Goggins talk a lot about that?
I don't know.
I think he did. I think that's like one of his main things. And he's a UDJ male, for sure.
What's his type?
I got to redo it. I got to redo his type. But most people believe he's an ENTP, similar to Andrew Tate. So most people believe that. But yeah, that's kind of the direction there. But when you look at what Breadman just said, and this is how we're able to segue into the rite of passage here. When you look at what Breadman said, he said an SD man cannot correctly perceive or understand a UD man until he is separated from the mob, also known as the safety net. The rite of passage is designed to remove all safety nets from the man, and where the man himself has to be his own safety net. When I look at like my life and decisions that I make on a daily basis, and pressure's on or whatever, and things are going to get really bad if I don't take action. And I look at like my kingdom, I look at my family, which is my kingdom ultimately, the women in my life, my children, all these things, these mouths that I have to feed, these people that I take responsibility for. I'm literally chanting, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. It's up to you. You're it. That's it. It's only you. It's only you, bro. That's it. You are nothing. No one actually gives a shit about you. No one actually is going to be there for you. Nobody. What's really powerful, though, is when you have a group of men who come together, all having that mindset at the exact same time, and that is what becomes a true brotherhood. Because everyone already understands no one's going to come save them, and not even the brotherhood themselves. But that is exactly why the brotherhood, because it takes a lot of humility in a man to realize that no one's going to fucking save you, and it's really up to you. But that is exactly why the brotherhood is actually going to save them, if they actually do ask for help in that moment.
Yeah. A true safety net instead of an illusion.
Yes. Yeah. People like to call it support structure, right? Mm-hmm. Men having support structure, like if you think about it, society, there is no male support structure in society. Like absolutely not. There was one time in life, years and years ago, where I ended up like too drunk to really even do anything physically, such that I was raped by a subconscious developed woman. It is a memory of shame in my life. And I was. And in that time, it's like, it gave me another epiphany. Oh yeah, there really is no support structure. There is no support structure at all for men in those kinds of situations. Especially when you think, well, what if that woman got pregnant? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like there is really no support structure at all. At all. And that's just really, really terrible. Like that's a rough story. And I got like a lot more details to that story. I might tell it later. But like, yeah, there is no support structure for men. But you know what? Here's the thing. The second you give support structure to men is the second that they are relying on the safety net. And as soon as a man is relying on the safety net, guess what? They're into mob mentality, mob justice, group think. They're not into critical thinking at all. They won't think for themselves. They are not an individual. They're just a cog in the machine. But of course, the powers that be, the elite who control the world, just want all men to be cogs in the machine anyway, and that's why they're pushing this SDism on all of society.
That's why we have the No Child Left Behind Act that George Bush did.
Oh God, that is so bad.
And just the sound of it, no one liked it.
It's participation trophy culture.
Yeah.
That's what SD culture is. It's participation culture. Like, ugh, it's disgusting. It's absolutely not.
Same thing with that combined with the zero tolerance for bullying.
Yeah.
Just a recipe for more SD men.
Yeah, the zero tolerance for bullying. Whereas there is some value in bullying, although it's so interesting because my father like tells me to my face, like, you're a bully, and I'm like thinking to myself, no, actually, you're the worst bully I have ever met in my life. You are. Because, he's being Mind Temple, and Mind Temple has this whole thing, I gotta, Mind Temple and Soul Temple, they really love making people the butts of their jokes constantly. Because from their perspective, if you can't take a joke, you're too weak to be in their presence. That's their point of view. Versus the Heart Temple and Body Temple is the opposite perspective. No, we're here to build each other up. And if we're not going to build each other up, then what the fuck is the point? And so there's this bias between the two. I'm not saying one of them is more incorrect or right than the other. They're both right at the same time because two opposing things can't be true at the same time. And that's what's happening with the temples psychologically.
But no one's aware of it.
No one is.
They're projecting that onto others.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd be curious as to what Mr. Skarzynski's, your father's, bias is on that. I wonder what it is.
I don't know.
Yeah. It'd be a good conversation,
Yeah, I thought it was an ESTP, but that would mean that he's...
constantly making you the butt of his jokes.
But he's not.
I loathed my father doing that to me and treating me that way as a child. Loathed it.
Yeah, he doesn't do that, so maybe I have him typed wrong.
Maybe he's Heart Temple, maybe he's Body Temple then. But my father would do that to me constantly, and I absolutely hate it. And when one of my wives actually called him out on that, and and she's Body Temple, so she has that perspective of everyone's got to be built up, kind of thing. He made the claim that I treated him the same, even though I never did. I never did. I have no memory of that. Maybe it happened a few times and he could recall a few occasions. Maybe he could. But that was never my general operating thing. If anything, I've gone out of my way to build him up. I remember when he was around 50, in his 50s, and I was encouraging him to seek his PhD and encouraging him to go in the direction of becoming a professor at a university, which I did. And he did. He got super successful. And I remember I was like, yeah, my dad's pretty cool. When he was in his 50s, I was like, yeah, my dad definitely, he achieved his dreams. And that's one of the things that I really respect about my father is that everything that he set out to do that he actually wanted out of life, he got. He did it. He absolutely did it. And the thing is too, is that, now that I know a lot more about psychology, I understand how my father's perspective is and whatnot. I'm just you know what? Yeah, I was pretty mad at him as a child for treating me like a Mind Temple person would treat their child. I was pretty upset at him about it. But now I'm just I really should just forgive him because that's just who he is, and I should just get over it. But I wish that he would actually understand my point of view and give it the credit that it is due, in as much as I am doing that for him now. And that's the problem. He's not reciprocating back that to me. He's so stuck in his own mindset and so has the belief that he's so correct and no one else is. That's the biggest problem. I mean, it's to the point where this guy that we used to go to church with criticized him for that publicly at a 4th of July party one time. And he used our last name as a superlative, basically, as an insult. And he said, quote, put your, and then he inserted our family name away. Put your away. Put your, family name away. It'd be like someone coming to me saying, oh, put your Joseph away. Even though that's not actually my actual last name or whatever. But it's actually my middle name. But it's just so funny to see that. But again, it just comes down to safety nets. Safety nets is what literally creates subconscious development in men, but it also keeps it going when they need to actually face their own individuality. And that's what I think subconscious development men are having a really hard time doing, is actually facing their individuality. The problem is that in order for them to be confronted with their individuality, they have to endure great suffering. Better to have just one defining moment in your life where you almost died and it was like basically survive or die, and then you have that epiphany, which is what the Rite of Passage was ultimately for, versus what we have now where it takes many, many years and a lot of suffering over many, many years in a man's life.
Yeah. Rite of Passage by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah,
Instead
Rite of
of
Passage
just
by
one-
1,000
one
cuts
thing,
instead of
yeah.
just one big bludgeon, one big hit. And that's how I had to do it. That's how I had to suffer. That's how I had to get through.
Because there's no wars going on.
Yeah.
You kind of have to default back to that because it's all that's
Exactly.
available.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of the worst things. And if you actually were to ask a man, like, look, would you have rather been thrown over a waterfall and left for dead, or would you have rather have suffered, multiple women cheating on you and getting with other men, and you're having your children taken away? Like, what would you have rather have suffered? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would you rather have suffered being homeless multiple times, or would you rather have faced death one time and just got through it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At least hopefully your family prepared you for that moment where you're facing death. But that's another issue with society, is that families don't do that. So really the men, because here's the thing. Here's the rub. All men start out SD. All of them. They all start out subconscious developed. They all start it that way. And eventually they become UD. Eventually. When they realize no one's going to come to save them. When they realize it's up to them. It's them versus the world. When they have that epiphany, that's when they become UD. But here's the problem with that, though. They become UD, and this is where we segue into the next point. Right now, 80% of society is subconscious developed. 80% of society is subconscious developed, and it's getting that way like throughout the whole world. It doesn't matter if they're Western or Eastern. It doesn't matter. Like, it's getting that way. 80% of society is SD. Societies that are not that way, North Korea, probably Russia. Russia is probably still majority UD. There's like a film. I love this film. I always talk about this film. It's called It's a Wonderful Life. It's the Christmas story with Clarence the Angel and George Bailey, and he's UD, and his woman is UD, and it's a movie that was filmed, I believe, in the 1930s, late 1930s, and it was about the 1920s, something that happened in the 1920s, and this film is so good because it represents unconscious developed society, and it shows you a nice window into unconscious developed family and what family life is from an unconscious developed perspective, and how society in general, because you see how all the men are treating the women, and the women are very quiet and very implosive, and the men are explosive, and you just see it there. But then what was that film you were telling me about? The comparison film that is like now?
National Lampoon Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation
Yeah.
with Chevy Chase, Mr. SD male comedian. And that movie shows how society, because that movie can exist when you have society as a majority of subconscious developed. The whole point is that society will always fall apart if the majority of the people are subconscious developed. This is actually the reason that the Roman Empire collapsed. Like, if you want your empire to last forever, the majority of the men in the society need to be unconscious developed. So you need an 80% UD society.
Yeah. So they can never let go of the Rite of Passage. They have to have it ingrained.
Ingrained. This is why I strongly believe in compulsory military service. Strongly. Absolutely. Compulsory. To the point that if military service became compulsory in the United States, and in the United States they recently increased the age to 42 for like the Army, for example, then that would technically mean myself as a 39-year-old would be required to do 2 years of military service technically in the Army. Yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. Without question. Absolutely, I would do it.
Even birds have a rite of passage.
Really?
Yeah, the parents will like knock their young ones out of the nest.
Fly or
See if
die.
they fly. Yeah.
Fly or die. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. I think nations that have compulsory military service culturally are the most superior on this planet. So like Switzerland is that way. Korea is that way.
Israel.
Even Israel's that way. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few of them out there. But compulsory military service, I think, is one of the best things that society can do for itself. If they want their nation to last, if they want their nation to not fall apart, compulsory military service. Like 2 years minimum. It's got to be 2 years. And then in my opinion, also like every 10 years, the men have to go back in for 3 to 6 months of updated training. And I think that is absolutely critical, very, very critical. And then, like for example, in Switzerland, I think that they issue firearms to people and then they keep them, and that's their gun, and it literally is an assault rifle that they keep, that they have. Like, I don't know if they still do that anymore, but that's how it was like when I was a kid, if I remember correctly. Like they would do that. But yeah, like. Yeah, and I was actually discussing this with a member of the team a couple of days ago, because he's SD and he's told me like, well, wouldn't that kind of suck for SD men? If it's 80% UD and SD men are actually the minority. And you know what? The answer is no. The answer is absolutely not. It's actually better for subconscious developed men to be the minority. It really is. Because subconscious developed men are really good at education and being educators. They're also really good at being artisans and very artistic because they're more perception oriented. And they're all a lot more about novelty. I have the opinion, how you look at how architecture used to be in the old days and how it's so superior to what it is today in every way?
Yeah.
Well, my theory is that in a society where you have majority of SD men, SD people, 80% of the population is SD, everyone is so novel, the novelty is gone. And so it creates a normalized novelty, which creates the architecture that we have now in the society, which is stupid. Versus, these amazing Gothic cathedrals and things like the Taj Mahal, like
There's a little more to it than that, because the people that built those, a lot of them didn't even live to see it finished.
True.
So they had faith that they were building something for the future, even if they weren't around to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have this race to the bottom, and everyone's like, oh, well, when society gets worse, like, I'll be dead by then, so who cares? Everyone has that mentality.
Yeah.
And how can you build anything great with a mentality like that?
Yeah. Yeah, like...
Or if you build like this amazing thing, we have mass migration. Are you building it for your children because no one's having any children, or are you building it for people that are moving here and then they're the ones having children? Like, what are you building it for?
Well, let's talk about artists though. So the all-time greats, we're talking classical music, we're talking Mozart, we're talking Beethoven, we're talking who did Summer and Winter? Vivaldi, like or Da Vinci or Picasso, or like all these painters, these amazing painters, these artisan-like people. They're all subconscious developed. They all are, because in a UD society, the SD men, the SD people, really get to shine. They really get to shine, and they end up being far more appreciated for who they are in that mode. Here's the also interesting. The ruling class of that society, they produce SD children. They just do. So you have a bunch of soldier ants everywhere, the UD people, producing more soldier ants to keep the empire from falling apart, essentially, and holding everyone accountable. But the aristocracy ends up having all these SD children. There's there's actually some kind of a little bit of proof of that, talking about Buddha, Prince Siddhartha, being given everything, and then he realizes, okay, this is degenerate, and then he's an NGJ, and he's like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, and then he realizes how stupid that is. So he forces himself as an SD man to go and create his own rites of passage, basically, where he's putting himself through hell, basically, in life, and then becomes the Buddha because he reached nirvana. He reached enlightenment.
Enlightenment, yeah.
And all enlightenment is no one's going to come save you. Like, literally. Which I find absolutely hilarious. But that's the thing, like I was explaining to this SD man, I'm like, look, like SD men, SD people would be people that would thrive in a UD society. They would thrive. There'd just be less of them. Versus they're not thriving at all. Show me an SD male who is actually thriving right now. SD men, like for example, according to Rollo Tomassi, are not even noticed by women. Only 20% of men are actually noticed by women, and only 5% of men are actually women that are actually men who are actually having sex. Statistically, according to dating app statistics. And the 20% of men are UD men, but only 5% of the population are UDSF men. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then all these SDers think it's about looks.
Mm-hmm. And
then they're trying to looks max because they're perception oriented.
Exactly.
So they see the problem and it's like, oh, well, what does my perception tell me about this?
Exactly.
It's all looks based.
Yeah.
So then they try to make themselves looks max or look better, and they think that's going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
But they're using an SD man solution to the fact that they're not UD.
Yeah. So CK.
They're avoiding, again, the rite of passage. Looks maxing is not going to get you through a rite of passage.
What it is the path to machismo, ultimately. That's what looks maxing is. It's the path to machismo. So CK, my UDPF ISFP wife, she told me, because her father is implosive, he's SD, and I'm explosive, and she was comparing the two of us at one point in time, and she'd tell me, like, I never know where my father stands, because he's so non-confrontational. I never know where he stands. So she's constantly talking about how unsafe she feels around him because she never knows what's going to happen or what's happening because he's so implosive. She never knows. It's always a question mark. But with me, she always knows what's up because I'm always venting my emotions all the time. I'm always being open about what's going on with me all the time, and she always knows where I stand.
And you're doing it authentically instead of harmoniously.
Yes.
So she trusts even more. And if you were to be harmonious, then she'd start feeling unsafe.
Yeah. See, the UDSF men, the 5% of men who are basically fucking all the women in society right now, they're the ones who are seen as the most dangerous, yet they're the ones that are actually have the capacity and the capability to cause women to feel the safest. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. That's why you can't really rely on perception. You have to rely on proper judgment.
But the SD women, they feel safe when the man is harmonious.
Yeah, which is a big problem. And so what did you say about SD women trying to make all men harmonious? What would happen?
If they got their way as a collective, society would collapse immediately because the only authentic people would be the women.
Exactly.
And all the men would just be around harmonious. Now, that might be good on a relationship level, like in the house, for like lack of conflict and they'd be getting along better. But as a society, none of the men are authentic. They don't even have the machismo to fall back on. They're just going to get invaded, taken over. Their women are the judgment-oriented ones if they're SD. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be able to physically repel an invading force.
Exactly.
And then everyone's fucked.
Yeah. And then all of the SD men are going to go out of their way to run to Canada and not be conscripted for the war. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, and it's just entirely ridiculous. I mean, you look at George W. Bush, he's an SD man. Compare that to the UD man, Donald Trump, in terms of their presidencies. You see what I'm saying? And it's just like, you look at Bush and it's like, you just see this man who's obviously being led around by other people. You know, Dick Cheney, for example, he wasn't SD, he was UD. Dick Cheney was running that White House, not Bush. You see what I'm saying? Like, the UD person is ultimately going to be the decision maker because the SD man is always going to run to the UDJ or the SDJ, whatever J octagram person that person has. And basically, they're going to be the one making the decision.
And if they don't do that, then they'd outsource their thinking to the mob, which is even worse.
Yeah, it's even worse.
So they'd be lucky if they had a UDJ to outsource
Exactly.
their decision making to.
This is why if the United States went to war with Russia, the United States will lose. Straight up. The USA will lose to Russia, for sure. Because the UD man would be able to slaughter scores and scores of SD American soldiers. Completely. Just one UD man. It would be no contest. No contest in that situation. So, and that's just, that's ridiculous. Here's something that Jordan Peterson said. He noted that the IQ needed to join the military is 82, but that's only 10% of the population. That's only 10% of the population. 82 minimum. 10% of the population that's 82 plus, but you can only join the military if you have an IQ of 82. Like, that's why we have ASVAB, for the scores, right? So,
well, hold on, 10% above 82? Doesn't make sense.
Maybe it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's bullshit. Probably is bullshit. But maybe Jordan Peterson's full of shit, or maybe the person presenting Jordan Peterson's thing is just twisting their words because that guy's probably SD. I don't know. But that I just thought about that. What if something like that was real? What if that, when it comes to having people in a strong military is based on IQ, and very few people, like it's a minority of people who are in the population that are actually capable of being in a military. So that's why you just know that the West is going to lose, just by default. You just know that. There's not enough, like I said, soldier ants to even have that military force to not only defend the land, but potentially protects its interest against other lands. Like, we just don't even have that.
Well, most of the military is just regular people working normal jobs, just wearing camo. So what they really need is like special forces and like infantry to be UD.
Yeah.
So that's the real
like Army
bottleneck.
Airborne, for example.
Yeah.
Like you got to when you got airborne, you better make sure that those are some UD fucks.
The training will force the rite of passage on you.
Yeah. They force the rite of passage.
Not necessarily boot camp anymore, because they've watered that down and made it so, anyone can get through it now.
Yeah, it's like that guy, Jocko Willink. I am a Jocko Willink fan. A lot of people hate him, but he's an ESTP, and you could tell, like, yeah, man, you used to be harmonious. Yeah, man, you used to be implosive. But he's really explosive with what he's talking about now in terms of discipline equals freedom and these different principles he's talking about for manhood and whatnot. And, I mean, former Navy SEAL, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, you went through BUDS training. That's a rite of passage. Because, here's something interesting. The South Korean Army, my wife was telling me about this, and she's like, oh yeah, they'll take the men and they'll tie them up and then they'll throw them into a pool of water, and they have to untie themselves and get out. That's a rite of passage if I've ever seen one. You see what I'm saying? And the South Korean military, by default, is better than the American military. Just on that concept alone. Just on that concept. For sure. Here's another thing. Do you remember like those rumors about there being a possible mutiny on the USS Gerald Ford, the aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean Sea, with this Iran war that we got going on right now?
Is that the one where somebody sabotaged all the bathrooms?
Yeah, all the
so they have to,
bathrooms.
like,
Yeah,
go back into port.
Yeah, because they're protesting. Like, do you think the UD men are going to be protesting on the boat and putting everyone else at risk on the boat? Absolutely not. It'll never fucking happen. That is SD sailors acting that way. Like that just boggles my mind.
If they made boot camp harder, they would avoid outcomes like that.
Well, we got to have our training timeouts, man.
Yeah.
or the card or whatever.
That wasn't a real thing.
That wasn't a real thing. Might as well be, yeah.
Yeah. It's not what it used to be.
It's not what it used to be. That's so terrible. So then, now I have a theory. My theory is that, like, if you really want to raise the IQ of the people in your nation, the men better be UD. Because they're already invested in judgment anyway. Judgment and use of judgment requires a higher level of intelligence anyway. And when you are forced at risk of pain of death to use your judgment to get yourself out of a situation and survive, like a rite of passage, because you better have good judgment when you're trying to untie yourself when you're underwater. You see what I'm saying? If that's a collective experience for all men in a society, I guarantee you their IQ is going to be a lot higher. I guarantee you. Like, no amount of perception is going to get them out of that underwater situation where the clock is ticking and they're going to die if they don't figure it out. They have to figure it out. The act of figuring out is developing rapid neural pathways for having the proper judgment to get themselves out of that situation and survive in that moment. But we don't have that collectively at all. Instead, we have participation trophies. When I was in kindergarten, okay, this was just before the No Child Left Behind laws, but this is the culture of schools. And schools, this is elementary school, and I was 6 years old, and we had what they called the Great Grade Run, basically. And every single student got a trophy for it, and that was my participation trophy. And I held on to that trophy as a child for a long, long time, thinking that that trophy meant that I was great, even though it was nothing more than a participation trophy. I wish my father found that trophy and threw it in the fucking trash right in front of me. I wish he did that. He said, no, you didn't earn this. I wish he'd done that. But, you know, my dad's harmonious and he'd never do that. But in my opinion, just my opinion, I feel, so it's a feeling, not necessarily the truth, but I feel like my father abandoned me. And it's one of the reasons why I have such really bad fear of abandonment. But that was something that happened over time, and that led to me being unconscious development because I knew my dad would never be there for me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it eventually happened anyway, but I wish he was more direct about it instead of indirect. I wish he took the participation trophy and destroyed it right in front of my eyes. I wish he did that. I wish he showed me, like, no, you didn't earn this, and just throw it away. Like, I think that has so much meaning. And you hear men talk about those types of trophy stories with their fathers. And the fathers who act that way should be celebrated instead of shat on upon this society, or being told that, oh, you know, you're obviously incapable of parenting a child.
Yeah, or you're abusive and need to
Yeah.
have your children taken away from you.
Which is his perspective anyway. I mean, that man actively goes out of his way to take my children from me without even bothering to ask me a question, or bothering to ask me what my perspective is, or even bothering to give me a voice at all. He will give zero consideration to my voice, even though I have demonstrated over and over throughout our lives that I have superior judgment than him. At all. But his own pride will get in the way and inhibit him, even though, like, he could be a really good advisor to me, and he could actually outsource judgment to me, and he would actually be even more successful in his life. But he wants to rely on the safety net, the collective, the safety net of his degrees, the safety net of his PhD, the safety net of his education institutions, and thinking that that is a superior investment instead of having the raw judgment of an individual who's exercising critical thinking.
Yeah, it's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
That's Poor Dad. Focusing on all these little things.
Oh, that
like,
is Poor Dad. Yeah.
Pensions.
Oh,
and
my
like,
God.
yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Even though...
Poor Dad is the SD way.
Yeah.
Rich Dad is the UD way.
Yeah, even though Kiyosaki never actually wrote that book. At least that's the rumor.
And he's SD too.
And he's SD as well. It's just like, it's so...
Kind of like how Rollo Tomassi wrote The Rational Male, but it's all based on Tom Likas. And he's, I'm pretty sure, UD.
Yeah, he is the
Yeah.
UD. I listened to Tom Likas when I was 16, 17, and 18. I tuned in to Likas all the time. In my teenage years. I really enjoyed his show. I enjoyed what he preached. And over time, I actually started treating women that way as a high schooler. The second I started treating women that way in high school, I immediately got a girlfriend. Immediately. My first love, her name was Molly, and great woman, very, very good woman. Because of what I learned under Tom Likas, I ended up the only male to go to her house in a group of women, other female students and whatnot, and I had the balls to ask her out in front of all of her girlfriends, basically, to prom. And she said yes, and that began our relationship. She later died of brain cancer. That's a sad story. Not unlike that film, A Walk to Remember. That's like my high school story, basically. But that whole situation, that whole story, and it's one of my best memories of my life that I have, and I really cling on to those memories. Those memories would have only been possible because I learned under Tom Likas. However, if I had the rational male, it's giving the rational male to like a 16-year-old is like giving them a loaded gun and doing plate theory, you know, with high school girls or whatever, and potentially ruining their lives in the process. Like that's absolutely terrible. You know, like increasing their body counts, taking away their virginity, like because you know, high school
And
girls.
Tom Likas did promote that too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he promoted it doing it authentically instead of inauthentically, which is what Tomassi does. Because Likas's main principle that he was teaching is like, yeah, being yourself does work to a point where it's like, yeah, just make sure the woman understands what her position is and what her place
Right.
is.
At least he wasn't lying about it.
He wasn't lying about it. He wasn't lying
Whereas
about
the red pill,
And that's
Manosphere
what,
stuff is all about lying.
yeah, and that's what the quiet girls, the Yuri
Yeah.
women latch onto. You're being completely honest about it. And that's what they're actually attracted to.
Yeah. And because all these men are out there lying, women are aware of that. And then all men are painted with this brush of, oh, well, he might be lying to me. And even we get
Yeah.
treated like that.
Yeah, even
because
we
of
get treated like
the
that.
behavior
Yeah.
of these SD red pill men.
And our behavior, even though we're not lying, it's so different, it's so counter to what they're used to. They automatically assume that we're the greatest liars because we're the minority.
Yeah. Anything that stands out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
must
just
be untrustworthy.
the dating market
Yeah.
is absolute bullshit, dude. It's complete bullshit. Nope, my thing locked on me here. Okay, yeah. So you were talking about the SD male gesture tricks and the handkerchief.
Yeah, that's what we're just, the fake.
Yeah. So you told me a story recently how you went to a club with some SD friend of yours, and didn't you feel like that was just like a big humiliation ritual?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us the story.
Well, I went to the club and was with this SD guy, and he wanted me to basically be his prop while he approached women. He wanted me to approach women with him. But the problem is I didn't find any of them attractive.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we'll do it anyway. And I was like, no. Because I didn't want to be fake.
Because apparently you care more about pussy than you care about being your authentic self. And apparently that's a problem.
For him, it was, yeah.
How dare you not value pussy more than that?
Well, to him, he thought I was just being a coward. Like, oh, well, you're too afraid to approach. It's like, well, no, I genuinely don't want to. And I was more afraid of getting into a conversation with someone who I didn't want to listen to. Because I just knew that it would be a train wreck.
Tell me about that.
So I can already rule that out just by looking at all the women there. It's like, oh, well, that would be a conversation I wouldn't want to have. There's another one. There's another one.
All the SD
If
women.
he wants to do the spinning plates,
Yeah.
spam approach, everything. That's fine. But I'm not the guy for that.
It's like, hey, I'm happy to be your emotional tampon because I'm an implosive man and you're the explosive woman and you're venting your emotions constantly.
Yeah. And SD men don't need wingmen. That's for UD men. So he could do the, like you were saying earlier, the approach where you just, walk up to 10 girls at the bar. 2 of them will say yes.
Yeah.
You don't need a wingman for that.
You don't need a wingman at all.
And if anything, the strong, silent type, you come across less of that the more guys you have around you.
Yes, exactly. So they use us as props, these UD male props. If you ever get invited to like a party or a bar with an SD man, he's just using you to be a prop.
And that's to overcome his fear of rejection.
To overcome his
which
fear
he
of
doesn't
rejection.
need us for.
Yeah.
He can do that on his own.
He can do this
and he'd be better for it.
Exactly. It's like,
so
hey.
I was actually helping him by not doing that. He's like, no, go be the strong, silent type. Go do things on your own. Face your own fear of rejection. You don't need me for that. I mean, I'm not articulating these things to him because he wouldn't understand.
No, he wouldn't. Nor would he accept them.
No.
And he'd actually be like, oh, you're really weak. And then he'd actually...
think I'm coping, coming up with excuses.
He sent his wife, how she was referred to yesterday at the lounge was hilarious. I could not. I literally could not even, when she was compared she's an actual woman, but they refer to her as the woman who looks like a tranny, and I'm just like, oh my god, like what? Like if a woman is not actually that, don't refer to her that way. And I say that because I have experience with being married to very masculine women in my life, and she was referred to that way many times, and it was extremely damaging to her. But that's the thing about like those women who have that queen bee aura about them. They are very masculine. So the explosive women are very masculine. So it's no surprise that a woman like that has that reputation, when in reality, she's just a woman who's had to suffer the fact that her brothers and sisters got all of the attention, and she did not get that attention, basically. So she has to become emotionally explosive to get any attention. Versus the SD male, because when you're raising a boy, they're just a boy, and boys will be boys, right? They're climbing the tree, they're scraping their knees, they're getting into a lot of trouble. So when you're being raised by a single mother, for example, or a mother who has a weak man as a father, the attention ends up on the boys and not the girls. And because of that, the boys end up having more safety nets, which creates SD, right?
And then the women have to compete for attention, which means they
Yes.
have to seek it out instead of just receive it.
Exactly.
And they're not able to receive it.
So I actually feel bad for this man's wife for that purpose, because it kind of wasn't her fault that she became explosive to begin with. And it has everything to do with how these people are being raised. And I feel bad. And especially I also feel bad for my ex-wife, who also was treated the exact same way. Treated the exact same way many times, to the point where she was so starved for attention that she leaned into it, which is really sad. She leaned into being just another one of the boys, to the point that she actually played on her high school football team, and then eventually ended up attempting to join the Marines, and she was kicked out later. And it's just really sad.
Another
story.
reason why it's a red flag for women to have male friends.
It's a huge red flag.
Because it says that about her.
It says that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I feel bad for that situation entirely. But yeah, there's being the UD man and just being the prop, you know, we have fear of being a creep because everyone assumes the UD male is creepy, because let's be honest, in an SD society, UD men are creepy because we're the ones who are emotionally explosive. We're the ones who look dangerous. And yes, we are dangerous because we're the soldier ants. Of course, the soldier ant is going to be the dangerous one, versus the worker ant is not going to be the dangerous one. But like the SD woman is being forced because they didn't get a lot of attention as a child, and they're trying to make sure that they have attention in their adulthood, and they need that attention consistently.
And they'll never fill that gap.
And they'll never fill the gap.
Because they can't change development.
Yes. And that's why they have male friends, because they're trying to they're desperate for attention, desperate that attention that they should have gotten from their father. But do you think an SD male is going to give that attention to their daughters? Not really, no. That's the problem. And it creates this self-perpetuating system where society is set up this way, literally because of SD social primacy. And it just gets everything worse. When you look at the UD approach, however, it's very different. So like, for example, I have daughters and I have sons, right? So I give my daughters a lot of attention, a lot. Whereas with my sons, they have to earn my attention. They have to earn it, right? And that helps them cultivate UD and also preps them mentally for the rite of passage, because they have to earn that attention.
Yeah, for men, it's no one's going to save you. But for women, someone should be saving them. Ideally their father, and then one other man.
Yeah. And
when they don't get that, they fill that void with multiple men.
Yes.
And they become hoes.
Yes, and they become hoes. And it's just
So if you're raising your daughter
really
that way,
sad.
you're guaranteeing that she will be a hoe.
Yeah. So
maybe give your daughter some attention.
Yeah, give your daughter some attention. Give her more attention than you give the sons.
Even if you're SD, go out of your way
if
through
you're
learned behavior to do that.
If your son is acting out because he's trying to get attention, good, but then give him attention as a form of reward for proper behavior. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
not by default.
Not by default.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they have to earn that attention. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, how their parenting practices are actually harming children and then creating this SD society where you have SDism being this autoimmune disease where they're cannibalizing each other due to their mob mentality. Because, you know, the whole concept of birds of a feather flock together kind of a thing. Well, that's not true. It's not true in UDism because UD men don't come together. They do not come together at all. They're constantly independent. They're the kings of their own castles. They have their own sandcastle, basically that kind of a thing. It takes one UD man to be like, hey, there's a problem here. And we need to kind of stick together and then create a kind of culture for the UD men. And then the UD men will come together afterwards because of something that's greater than themselves. But
And it takes judgment to even pull that off.
yeah, because they're able to come together because they're different versus the SD male approach, which is we're coming together because we're the same. And anyone who's different than us, we're going to kick you out or we're going to cannibalize you. Or we're going to do everything we can to shit on you and make you become just like us because it's all about sameness.
And they think that's a punishment too. Like if you're a UD man and you're in an SD friend group and they kick you out of it,
Yeah.
they think they've just like destroyed you.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I'm used to that and I don't care.
Yeah.
And you guys were awful anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not missing any of you.
Yeah. And women have it worse. Have it way worse. So this guy's wife that we're talking about, how many female friends do you think she actually has? Explosive women really, really struggle with having female friends.
Well, they all want to be the queen bee.
They all want to be the queen bee.
And there can only be one queen.
Because the queen bee is the one who
group.
gets the attention, ultimately.
And that's why they butt heads.
And that's why they butt heads, yeah, exactly.
And those friendships break up, and then
Yes.
they're left without friends. And then
Yes.
they default, because they need attention, to more males.
Yes.
And then they become hoes.
One of the reasons I got married to this very masculine woman is because, like, I felt bad for her. My FI trickster, which is extrinsic, felt really bad. And I was really sympathetic. And it's a master function because it's extrinsic. So as a master function, I'm really going out of my way to be as sympathetic as possible. And I'm super sympathetic towards her. And that's actually why I fell in love with that woman. It's because I was sympathizing with her pain and her suffering of having to be this masculine woman, basically. And it's just really, really sad. I still feel bad for her to this day, especially she's with this SD male adulterer who, because this woman cheated on me with another SD man, some bartender locally here in town, cheated on me with that man, and then ended up remarrying this other SD man who has a criminal record and whatnot, and it's a really sad story. Biblically, because she cheated on me and we divorced, she has no right biblically to remarry. She's supposed to stay celibate for the rest of her life or do whatever she can to work things out with me, and then we reconcile. Biblically, that's what's supposed to happen, but that's not what happened. So instead, she's committing adultery, and he's committing adultery with her, according, to the teachings of Jesus, which is hilarious. But society ends up celebrating that, further perpetuating the problem. And then at the same time, because now her children is being raised by this SD man, my children is being raised by this SD man, my son is at risk of not becoming UD. He's actually at risk of becoming SD, and then further perpetuating the cycle. This is why I heavily look down on men marrying single moms. I really look down on them for that. I hate it because it just perpetuates this societal corruption over time. It's absolutely fucking terrible. I absolutely hate it.
That's yet another safety net that they're providing to a woman who has an abundance of safety nets always.
Yes.
Giving her even more of a safety
Yes.
net, which would be enabling her bad behavior.
Mm-hmm. But those safety nets, the reason why women have safety nets is because UDPF women, which is the state that women should be in, implosive and whatnot, they are the most vulnerable thing in all of creation. Those safety nets were put in there to protect those women, especially when the UD men went off to war and they wouldn't come back. Those safety nets were there. But the safety nets were still there, but then all of a sudden all the women became SD. and they're explosive, and now they're taking advantage of those safety nets, much to the detriment of society itself, which is also a huge problem. So again, it's just this self-perpetuating system that creates subconscious developed social primacy. And we have this feminine primary social order, according to Tomassi, but it's the SD primary social order. That's what it is. That's literally what it is. And sadly, Tomassi is just projecting his own subconscious developed perspective onto everybody else, thinking that that's what needs to happen, when in reality, it's actually making everything worse. And then just turning all of the men into womanizers, effectively. They're all womanizers now, liars and womanizers.
And he's encouraging them to go SD men to be authentic, all about machismo.
Yeah.
Which is harmful to them too. Because if they were more harmonious, they'd be actually willing to learn, and then maybe they would force themselves into a rite of passage and become UD.
Yeah.
But they can't do that with people like Tomassi encouraging unlimited machismo.
Yes.
Which he's making everything worse.
Everything worse.
Every aspect is worse because of him.
Yeah. Tomassi's work has caused more harm on society than good.
And people accuse like the Manosphere, Red Pill, as being the equivalent of feminism, and they like to argue against that, like, oh, well, men are actually oppressed, so that comparison isn't valid. But it is valid from every other perspective.
It is entirely valid.
Yeah.
It is feminism. Yes, the Red Pill is feminism.
It harms men.
Yes.
While claiming to help men, which is exactly what feminism does to women.
Yes.
There's no way around
it's
that.
It's male feminism.
Yeah.
It literally is.
Yeah.
And they think they're alpha.
Yeah.
And then as a result of that, we end up having, because of this SD feminine primary social order, we end up having these really bad social circles where you have the mob mentality for the SD people, you have the SD men, you have and then the SD women who are explosive feed into the mob mentality because the mob mentality benefits them because they see the mob mentality as yet another safety net, because an SD woman can then make any accusation to any man, and then his life is completely destroyed just by default. This happens, and they all think that's fine, whereas that would never happen in a UD social circle. Let me ask you this. Given everything that's happened, one of the reasons I believe that UDPF women never leave the home, because they're scared shitless. They're scared of dealing with the men with their mob mentality. Because I imagine men who with mob mentality are more likely to commit the sexual assault than men who don't. You see what I'm saying? And
especially if they're part of that 80% that doesn't get laid.
Yeah, especially if they're part of that 80%. This is why I talked about, I've warned this. I've warned this in some of my other videos on my YouTube channel, which is just, you can search, it's just CS Joseph on YouTube. I've warned about this, where I've said, if society collapses, if there is a big war, that 80% of SD men, what are they going to do? Massive, widespread sexual assault everywhere. It would be just like the Russians and what they did to the Germans at the end of World War II. Like, literally. And it would be that, just everywhere. And yet, as you had pointed out, if the SD women get what they want, and the SD male harmoniousness becomes like the majority, and it is the majority now, if it becomes the majority, what ends up happening is that it increases the probability that that's going to come true, which is terrifying if you think about it. Absolutely terrifying.
And UD women, because they have better perception,
yes,
are much more likely to be aware of that.
Yes.
Instinctually.
Yes.
And that's why they don't leave the home? Or
That is the reason why they don't leave the home. That's why it's very hard to actually find a UD woman in the wild. I actually was talking to AI about this earlier today. I was using my favorite AI, and I asked it, like, look, here's the profile of what we call the quiet girl, or the UD woman. Where is she going to be in public? Where? So that UD men can basically generate familiarity with her so that she can start crushing on him, and then maybe there would be a chance for a relationship. And the only thing the AI popped out was literally just libraries, parks when they're sitting under the tree reading, or coffee shops. The AI wouldn't even go so far as to say that church was a good environment for it. It wouldn't even go that far. And I asked about it. It's like, nope, nope. So those are the only 3 areas that you can actually find a UD woman in public. That's it. Studying environments, places where they could study. That's it. Because UD women are forced to be studious in this culture, because it's not like, because their father's like, doing what CK's father did to her, which is, oh, you got to go into STEM. She didn't want to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. She didn't want to do that, even though she is a math whiz, but she didn't want to do that. She wanted to be a performer. She wanted to be a composer of music, for example. She wanted to, be an athlete. That's what she wanted to do. She didn't want to, have all these educational achievements.
She is ISFP, right? So
yeah, she's ISFP.
Yeah, the artist.
Yeah, the artist. Yeah. And it's just so ridiculous that this ends up happening, and it happens over and over and over. So it's just, but the bottom line is that the ideal state for society, as well as the ideal state for individuals, is UD. It really is. Just the problem is, though, is that why, like, women are uniquely sensitive, because they can't change their cognitive development, because their childhood, once their cognitive development is set, it's basically permanent for the rest of their lives, which means if we do make a UD society, the UD women would benefit, and there'd be more UD women and being there for the UD men, but the SD women, who are the majority, they'd basically have no one. And then all of a sudden you have all the cat moms and the dog moms, and they're basically alone.
Yeah, and that's already happening now.
It's already happening.
Even worse.
By 2030, I believe the statistic was recently updated. It's like 58% to 62%. I don't know if this is true, so fact check me on this. Put it in the comments, please. That basically the majority of women who are childbearing age will be alone by 2030. And it's literally for this reason. It's just absolutely terrible. So, do you have anything to add, or should we wrap it up?
That's it.
All right, cool. Let's wrap it up. All right, folks. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you folks on the next episode of the Hacked Off podcast. Later.